Our Super Bowl is here, finally. Robert Mueller is testifying. Politico's continuing coverage of the 2016 presidential election reaches its climax 2.5 years after the election. Here we are. It is the moment that we've been waiting for. Robert Mueller will finally speak and answer questions. Natasha, what are you most excited to hear about?
My expectations are very low for this hearing. I think he's made it very clear that he doesn't want to testify. But I'm interested in, how he feels about how the Attorney General characterized his findings. And I'm also hoping that he gets a little bit into some of the counterintelligence findings, some things related to the actual conspiracy between the campaign and Russia and what he thinks is the biggest threat there to national security, especially moving into 2020 with the president having already said he would accept foreign help in the future. We'll be able to kind of watch the movie and hear firsthand the findings that he had over the last 2.5 years.
Trump has been at Mueller's throat for a long, long time, as have some of the firebrand Republicans. There's been this, awkwardness between Democrats and Mueller. I think there's been basically 3 times where Democrats have put great stock in what Mueller was going to do. Some Democrats thought there was going to be an overarching indictment of people across the Trump administration. Then you had the report come out, and many people thought, it's going to single Trump out and say that he's guilty of 7 felonies. And lo and behold, Mueller kind of pulls back and doesn't come to any conclusion. And now I feel there's a lot of pressure to get stuff from him, and there may be a fair amount of friction, particularly from the more left-leaning Democrats with Mueller, and that's where you may see some sound bites that could even be helpful to the Republicans.
The pro-impeachment Democrats have put all of their stock in this, and they're waiting for Mueller to testify and hoping that he will provide the American public with those high crimes and misdemeanors.
The impeachment question, I think, it's getting late, right? You have the August recess, then you have the primaries, and then you have the election. So
I don't think it's ever too late, though. Like, they could do this in the middle of 2020. Ultimately, if they decide, look, nothing else is working, let's impeach Donald Trump right before the Republican convention, or at some point down the line, and just bring this all back up again. I think you have to throw all the politics of impeachment out the window, from Nixon to Clinton, and just start over with this presidency.
But that's not Nancy Pelosi's view. I do wonder, what the Democrats are going to do, coming out of this hearing, and whether they'll in fact get this sort of national moment that they're hoping for. There's no question they'll get sound bites. They can use them in ads. There'll be viral moments that'll go out on Twitter. But does it cause people who really haven't focused on the Mueller report? Will this bring them to the table?
The Republicans have a strategy that's very much about attacking Mueller and the credibility of the investigation and the credibility of his team. So they're going to be asking about, Peter Strzok, who was the former FBI agent on Mueller's team, who exchanged text messages with another FBI lawyer that were very disparaging of the president, and Republicans are going to point to that as evidence of bias. I think it's become clear that Mueller is very capable of answering all of these questions.
The remarkable part of this, if you think about how long Robert Mueller has gone without answering any questions from anyone, whether it be Congress, journalists, officials, in any sort of public format. So that's why this is such a pivotal moment in Donald Trump's presidency, really in recent American history.
I really want to know why he ended the investigation when he did. I think it seemed to many like it was perhaps premature. It was before the Roger Stone trial. It was before Rick Gates, Paul Manafort's deputy, had completed his cooperation with the government. It was in the midst of trying to get an interview with the president, which he did not ultimately do. I want to know also, connected to that, why he didn't take the steps to subpoena the president.
I think that you're going to have to try to pick something where you can force him a little bit out of his comfort zone. It did seem also when Mueller made his public statement a month or 2 ago that he was more comfortable talking about the Russia aspect of this investigation. He seemed much more hesitant to go down the route of offering any kind of fresh information about the obstruction side.
And no doubt, whatever Robert Mueller says on Wednesday, Donald Trump will have ample opportunity to rebut it, to respond to it, and will use the next 16 to 18 months to do that.